Alrighty, so it's time to finish off the review for match week number 9, and just like last week, I've already reviewed the Sunday game, which means that I have one less game to review in part 2 of this review for the match week, though I still have to review the 2 games that involve my team, so this video maybe be a little bit longer than what we saw last week when I review the remaining 5 games as part of part number 2. But that being said, let us actually start with the first one, which is Nashville versus LAFC. And I think this game just to prove why LAFC is such a dangerous team in this league and why they could potentially repeat as champion, because we all know that the top end talent is there. I mean, in terms of the top end talent, you could argue that is the best in the league. But also, one thing that they also show in this game is that they definitely have plenty of depth, and that depth has kind of helped them in terms of not only sustaining success in CCL, but also in league play, and hasn't seen the drop off that we usually see with an MLS team trying to balance both CCL and MLS and unable to do so. Now, in the first half, I want to first congratulate Dax McCarty. He joined a very elusive club of making a 400th MLS appearance there. I mean, eventually I'm gonna definitely do a video about Dax McCarty, probably until he does announce his retirement, where we got to talk about probably one of the most underrated player in MLS. And I always feel like Dax McCarty does not get given enough praise of what he is. He's definitely going to be considered as one of the best midfielder and certainly one of the best defensive midfielder ever played in this league. But in the third minute, Bunbury would hit one right to McCarthy, though not much was happening in the first 15 minutes. The shot were only 1-0 through 15 minutes. That one shot I mentioned was the Bunbury header. Though Bawanga did hit the side netting from close range before Cifuentes hits one right to Willis. And you started to see how AFC was starting to control this game. Like they were started to look like a team that could get the opener soon. Willis did had to deny Bawanga as he was in on goal there. But then in the 35th minute, Nashville actually take the lead. It's Hani Mukhtar that scores to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville. And this, believe it or not, is the first time that LAFC have trailed all season long. So it's hard to believe that it has taken match week number 9 until LAFC finally had to face some adversity. That just shows you how dominant they have been this season. But I also want to say that that was just completely against the run of play, because up to that point it was all LAFC. You definitely wouldn't be surprised that eventually they were going to score the opening goal, but to pretty much the surprise of the LAFC fans and certainly their staff, Nashville took the 1-0 lead because of the Mukhtar chance, and then he actually went beast mode just 4 minutes later, just completely took on the entire LAFC defense, but he missed wide with his finish. I mean, if that one went, that is an instant goal of the week, and just one that maybe could be a contender for goal of the year, because you usually don't see players that just go beast mode and just completely cut the entire team and score a fantastic goal. But Hani Mukhtar almost came very close to do so. Well, there was no doubt the momentum was now with Nashville as they were looking to get that second goal, but they couldn't do so as they lead 1-0 heading into the second half. Now in the second half, LAFC started to show their dominance again. Bawanga would hit one right to Willis before Cifuentes would put it wide from close range, as LAFC once again pressing early, this time to get the equalizer, and they do get the equalizer in the 58th minute. It's Bawanga. He scored from Buke to tie the game up at one apiece, because of course it's Dennis Bawanga, the one that scores the goal. I mean, he did miss some chances in this one, which is something that we have not seen Dennis Bawanga done for the past couple of games. He's just been absolutely lethal and definitely making an early case that he is definitely the leading candidate of winning MVP this season. But then in the 62nd minute, Stepa Buke, oh boy, he definitely want to have this one back, because he had a sitter from 4 yards out, and he puts that one high. I mean, that's just one of those ones that you got to say that it's harder to miss from that range than actually scoring that. And that, like I said, for Buke, he is definitely going to be thinking about that one. But in the 68th minute, Willis would deny Bawanga again, but it fall kindly to Borchit, but his shot was deflected wide. It was all LAFC. Like, you can see LAFC were pressing to get the win. And mind you, again, this is with them not having most of their starter. I believe Carlos Vela didn't even play in this one too. But McCarthy then denied Sapon of a rare opportunity for Nashville in the 72nd minute, and then the post denied Fuentes on a free header from the corner. Yeah, again, Nashville, this has been a problem for them for the past couple of seasons. They just have always had problems in terms of defending set piece, and that Achilles heel almost was come to the case, but they were saved by the post there. And then it looked like LAFC took the lead in the 89th minute when Bawanga puts it into the back net. The problem was he was in an offside position. So not only the fact that Nashville was probably thankful for the post, now they're thankful because of the flag. And when you face against LAFC, you need those kind of luck. If you're able to get something out of it, which that's exactly what Nashville did. They got a 1-1 draw out of this one. Shots in this one, 19 shots for the 8 that Nashville has, 6 shots on goal for the 3 that Nashville has, 4 shots off target for the 9 that LAFC had, 4 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Nashville has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that LAFC has. And for LAFC, they remain unbeaten, and they will at least remain unbeaten heading into May because, next week game against Houston is postponed because of the league decided to give both the Union and LAFC a rest heading to that crucial second leg CONCACAF Champions League semi-final tie. But yeah, again, this just shows you how good LAFC is, and it's a team that no one wants to face. And unfortunately, I flipped in the calendar, and yeah, guess who the LAFC is going to be playing next? Oh yeah, it's the San Jose Earthquakes. And even though that's a home game for the Quakes, and I mean you could maybe put home as a quotation mark because it's actually not at PayPal Park, but instead at Levi Stadium. Yeah, I mean that's gonna be an interesting one, and we'll definitely get to talk about how the Quakes did in their first big test of the season after getting off to a good start. But for Nashville, I mean, I think they'll be happy with this result because again, it's not very often teams can get points off of LAFC even if you're playing at home, and especially with how Nashville kind of were outplayed at times in this one. I think Gary Smith team will be very happy that they got a point out of this game. But moving on, in terms of the next match, you know who will not be happy getting a point out of the game? Both Colorado and St. Louis, because this it feels like it was one of those games where, I don't think both of these teams will be very satisfied because of how crazy this game actually turned out to be. In the first half, Berkey would deny Cabral, who was in on goal there, as I was thought it was a positive start for the Colorado Rapids, and I think Robin Fraser did a good job in terms of setting his tactics of just playing direct over the St. Louis press. And I kind of always wonder why teams don't do that often. Like if you're going to face against a pressing team, the most easiest way to basically deal with a pressing team is simply play a long ball, just play over the top of it. Now, obviously, I know the execution is not so easy, and some teams don't have the ability to do so. But I mean, it's kind of not rocket science. I mean, if you're going to deal have to trying to deal with a pressing team, don't play out of the back. Trying to go quickly so you can play out of the press and find some space behind, and that's exactly what the Rapids got in the first half. Though Klaus did miss hits one that goes wide in the 11th minute for Acosta try to chip one over Berkey, but he missed wide there. And then he would absolutely rob Rubio in the front post as the flag went up. Now, the thing that is kind of a little bit of a problem for the Rapids in terms of trying to play it over the St. Louis press is that there were times where, because of the fact that St. Louis was kind of playing a high line, there were times where there's a lot of their players kind of caught in an offside position, and there was a lot of offsides that the Rapids commit in the first half. But again, most of that is because of the fact that St. Louis is playing the press, playing the high line, and there's just a couple of times where those Rapids players being a little bit too eager in terms of going forward up front. Though in the 16th minute, it's the post that saved St. Louis now as Rosenberry struck the post from close. And again, Colorado, they were pounding on the door. Like it was pretty much all Rapids up to that point. But the question is, can they solve Berkey? Because Berkey up to this point, he was kind of one of the reason why that this and the post was the reason why this is still 0-0. In fact, the shots were 5-1 in favor of Colorado through 24th minute. That would increase as the half goes along. Max would hits one right to Berkey before Cabral would hits it high, and then Berkey denied Rubio from close range, and you kind of have a sense that frustration was starting to show on this Rapids team because again they just cannot solve Berkey. They cannot finish. And while Berkey definitely makes some good saves, some of those one that he saved, I mean, it's kind of right toward him. I mean, again, just kind of an indictment of how the Rapids were not being very clinical in terms of their finishing. Though in the second minute of stoppage time, Berkey would deny Acosta from close range. The shots were now up to 12-2 in favor of Colorado. 8 shots on goal compared to one that Colorado has. So Roman Berkey, 8 shot save in the first half. And at that point, I was thinking, is he going to break the record that Maxime Crepeau held a couple of years ago, where I think Crepeau had like 14 save in a game, and that it seems like he's on pace of trying to hit that with his 8 save. But we do head to halftime scoreless, despite the fact that Colorado was all over St. Louis. But you know the old saying that when you don't take your opportunity, it's gonna come back to haunt you. And you just kind of had a feeling with all those missed chances that Colorado has had, it's gonna come back to haunt them in the second half. And boy, did it do so, because after there was a shout for a penalty for Colorado not given, and then Yarbrough denying but it kind of fall kindly to Jarrett Stroud there, who missed the empty net there. St. Louis would get the opening goal. It's Rasmus Alm scoring from Stroud here to give St. Louis a 1-0 lead. So Jared Stroud kind of redeemed himself a little bit. I mean, he did had a bad miss just a couple of minutes ago. I mean, he didn't get on the score sheet, but at least he got himself on the assist chart here. But yeah, St. Louis was leading 1-0, and like I said, you just kind of had a feeling with the way that I'm pretty sure Bradley Carnell was going to make some adjustment, and he definitely did a good adjustment in terms of not allowing the Rapids getting those constant pressure. And that I also thought that St. Louis did came out of the half the better team. Klaus did try to, or actually no, I'm sorry. Klaus actually had to be subbed off in the 60th minute, and this is where there is definitely some concern for a St. Louis fan, because he had to subbed off with a knee injury. Pampu would replace him. We don't know exactly how severe the injury is. Hopefully, it's not that severe, because again, Joe Klaus, he's been a man in form for the St. Louis side, and losing him would definitely be a bit of a loss for the St. Louis City team. Well, there was no doubt that, like I said, the second half, it feels like it belonged to St. Louis, and the Rapids have not had those kind of constant pressure that they shown in the first half. They must have seen me wrote that, because just a couple of minutes after I wrote that, that constant pressure was back. Berkey would then deny Lewis from close in the 74th minute, before Lewis would fires it wide from long range just a minute later. And then Barrios had a shot that was deflected and goes behind for a corner. And again, the constant pressure for Colorado is back. Like, they were desperate. Like, they push everything forward to try to get this equalizer. Maxu would then hits one right to Berkey, before Lewis would also hits one right to Berkey in the first minute of stoppage time. And it just, at that point, looked like Berkey might have just stole this one. Like, he was determined to not allow a goal in this one. And it just feel like Colorado just hit one of those nights where they just couldn't finish and couldn't solve the opposition goalkeeper. And this is where I want to apologize to Roman Berkey and St. Louis City fans here, because I probably have just jinxed him. In fact, it's not probably. I definitely jinxed it, because as soon as I wrote that Barrios with berries sit from Rubio and or not Barrios, that is actually wrong there. He did not score and assist in that one. He actually got it was actually Barrios that score from Rubio there that gets the assist. And yeah, the game was all tied at one apiece. And then Rubio hits one right to Berkey in the third minute stoppage time, because Colorado is not going to stop just for the equalizer. They're trying to get that winning goal and press for that. But in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one. And the shots in this one, 21 shots compared to 9 that St. Louis had. 13 shots on goal compared to just 4 that St. Louis had. So Roman Berkey, 12 saves in this game. I think he was only like 2 shy from Maxime Crepeau's record from a couple of years ago. But yeah, he has to be on his game in this one, because Colorado was just peppering him. So again, some of those saves you could argue were probably pretty easy for him. But 5 shots off target for the 3 that St. Louis had. 2 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Colorado has. And possession-wise, 56% possession compared to the 44% possession that St. Louis has in this game. And again, for Robin Fraser and the Colorado Rapids, they'll be very frustrated with this game, because when you have that much chances in this one, and yes, they eventually did find the breakthrough, but again, when you have that much chances, and I believe they also said their expectancy goal was somewhere like 2.6, and the fact that they were clearly underperforming. If you look at the expectancy goal, I mean that's got to be very frustrating, and that this is definitely one that the Rapids feel like they should have got 3 points. But for St. Louis, I mean, I know they'll be probably happy that they got a roll point because they definitely did not play well, and that they definitely own Roman Berkey one here with him really standing on his heads for most of this game. Anytime when you give up a late goal, no matter if you're at home or on the road, it's gonna be tough to swallow. So yeah, again, it just feels like it's one of those games where I don't think neither of these teams will be happy of how the outcome of this resort is going to come. But that being said, moving on in the next match, we got RSL versus the San Jose Earthquakes. So I mentioned before, the Quakes are heading through a very crucial stretch where, they have got off to a good start this season, but I've seen this before. And when they go through a crucial stretch where they play against some decent teams, or when they're on the road, that is, they started to crumble. And unfortunately, it seems like it's kind of heading that way. Though again, I'm not going to just say it's completely heading that way because only one games and that we'll see how they will respond after this not so good performance in this one on the road against RSL. Now, early on, I thought they were actually on the front foot early, but the first shot did see Julio hits one right to Marcinkowski, but Marcinkowski spilled this one, and you can definitely see early on Marcinkowski was very shaky in terms of catching those one, and that's kind of been the problem for JT Marcinkowski this season. But he's very fortunate that he was able to gather it on the second attempt. On the other end, Cal had a tap in here, and he missed wide there. So K Cal, he had a great game in the last one, not so much in this one, and that's the frustration with K Cal this season. He's been very inconsistent, and if he is going to be a guy that can live up to his potential, he needs to start to be more consistent because that's one that he's got to bury in the ninth minute. Hidalgo then hits one right to Marcinkowski, and you can definitely see RSL was trying to test the Quakes netminder. And why not? JT has been kind of shaky up to that point, so why not take some pot shot to see if he potentially maybe spill one or allow a juicy rebound to allow RSL the lead. Julio then fires one wide as the flag comes up there, and I thought this game was really open. I mean, both of these teams were getting some good early chances. Uh, Gomez with them fires at high from long range before Ruiz with fires at wide from long as well in the 28th minute. But then in the 40th minute, RSL takes the lead. It's Lawfulson scoring from Musvalski to give RSL a 1-0 lead, and that came off of a brutal turnover from the Quakes. Yeah, you can't do that if you're the Quakes, allowing a bad turnover in your own end, and RSL capitalized that. And yeah, they took the 1-0 lead heading into the second half, but that 1-0 lead didn't last long because just 4 minutes later, Christian Espinoza would score on an amazing free kick. Although I think this one may have been deflected, but I'm pretty sure Espinoza and the Quakes wouldn't care because that ties the game up at one apiece. But just like how the Quakes were able to get the equalizer early in the second half, it didn't take long for RSL to restore that lead either because 5 minutes later, Savarino would score from Gomez to give RSL a 2-1 lead, and that was just vintage Jefferson Savarino there, just an absolute curler of a goal. I mean, you could question maybe the Quakes could be done a little bit better in terms of closing downs, but that was just an amazing goal there from Jefferson Savarino, definitely in contention for goal of the week there. Montero then tried to tie it for the Quakes, but he missed wide there before Gladwood hits it high on the volley from close range. And I also wrote the Quakes just seem like they're not up the task tonight in terms of defending because, it's not just set piece that they had problems in terms of defending. It's just in general, they were allowing way too many good chances, way too many high percentage chances for RSL. And again, I'm not sure that has a lot to do with the altitude too, because you can definitely see that this team started to kind of slow down a little bit, especially on the defensive end as the game goes along. But in the 70th minute, Montero did hit one right to McNabb before Kikanovic. He missed an absolute sitter from close range. Again, as much as, the Quakes didn't play well in this one, there was a moment where the Quakes could have won this one. I mean, from the K-Cow chance that he had in the ninth minute to this one from Kikanovic, missed an absolute sitter from close range. This game could have been different if the Quakes would have buried those opportunities. In fact, this is kind of alongside with kind of a bit of a long list of reason why the Quakes lost this one, because despite the fact that the Quakes did try to press for the equalizer, that Kikanovic miss would come back to bite the Quakes, because in the 79th minute, Gomez would score his first career MLS goal as he opens his MLS account from Oviedo and Savarino to make it 3-1 in favor of RSL, and I basically stopped watching this one because while this one was on at the same time and this one was getting excited, knowing the fact that this was 3-1 in favor of RSL, I knew this was pretty much over and there was really no point of watching. Well, I was at least kind of still listening to this game, but my attention was fully on this one, and hence that's why I didn't really wrote too much notes. In fact, I even go back to look at the time feed, and really in the last 11 minutes there was really nothing happened in this one. That goal was pretty much the dagger for the Quakes in that one. But yeah, in the end, RSL wins 3-1. Shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 10 that the Quakes had. 6 shots on goal for the 4 that the Quakes had. Both teams had 5 shots off target. 1 shot that was blocked for the 2 that RSL has. And possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that RSL has in this game. Not a good home win for RSL in this one. And I mentioned, this is a team that under Pavlos Mastroeni, he was kind of under pressure a little bit. I mean, I know that there was some RSL fans that were not happy with him, and even some minority said that he should be fired. But I really think RSL, these last couple of games, even in that loss against Dallas, I thought they played really well, and they're starting to rebound after just a rough start to the season. But for the Quakes, again, like I said, I don't want or I kind of don't want to see it happen again, but it just feels like it could happen again where whenever this team goes through a crucial stretch of a season where they have to prove that, yeah, this good start that they had wasn't a fluke, and then it turns out to be a fluke, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can bounce back. I mean, the next game against Austin, that's also going to be a crucial game too, because the Quakes have had a good history against Austin, and as I'll mention in a bit, Austin is just in a bit of a free fall right now. You got to say that that's a game that the Quakes, they need to get maybe even a point or even all 3 points in that one, knowing the fact that, as I mentioned, they will have to play LAFC and play the two LA team a couple of times in May. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 2 games that finish off the busy Saturday night action of match week number 9. So moving on, in the next one is the Desperation Derby between the Galaxy versus Austin, and for the Galaxy, they finally got their first win of the season. I mean, it only took them in terms of playing against an Austin team that, as I mentioned, they're kind of in a free fall right now, but I'm pretty sure that they'll take it with a 2-0 win in this one. Though early on, Joveljic did hit one just high before he hits one right to Stuver in the 5th minute. And the Galaxy, of course, waste no time, and we're looking for an early goal. Greg Vanney decided to play both Joveljic and Chicharito in this game, and I believe he did the same thing in the game between them and LAFC and El Tráfico, and it's definitely they have shown some good effect, because not only the fact that Chicharito has definitely brought a lot to this attack, but Joveljic has started to kind of shown why he was a decent attacker and lethal goal scorer coming off the bench last season, because so far this season he hasn't really had a big effect, but now pairing up with Chicharito, he started to definitely look much better on the attacking end. Lima then had a long range shot that goes high before there was a huge shout for a penalty for the Galaxy that was not given by the referee. But after that, the chances would start to be limited for a period of time. We didn't really see any chances for both of these teams for 20 minutes, but in the 41st minute, Stuvert would deny Boy, who tried to score a long range effort again, and actually at the same time too. I mean, Tyler Boy almost scored a long range effort just like he did in the 41st minute in El Tráfico, but this time Stuvert basically denies him there, and we head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Stuvert would deny Puig from close range before I thought the Galaxy again on the front foot. They were looking for that opening goal, and they do get it in the 54th minute as Chicharito would score here from Joveljic and Puig to give the Galaxy a 1-0 lead, and also decided to stop tracking Chicharito. Yeah, that guy that is a lethal goal scorer for the Galaxy. Yeah, let's not bother even tracking him, because as that ball was played to Chicharito foot, there was no Austin player in the vicinity. Like that was basically just a almost like I thought for a second Chicharito was taking a training shot with the way that he was that wide open in the box. And when you're giving that much space, I mean it's not surprised that he buries that one. Just absolute woeful defending there from Austin FC, and it kind of continued throughout this game too. Though Driussi did had a rare opportunity for Austin as he was trying to respond, but he missed wide on the volley. And then in the 64th minute, it would be 2-0 in favor of Galaxy as Ricky Puig would score here from Delgado to make it 2-0 in favor of the host. It was a great counter attack there from the Galaxy, but optional defending from Austin. Again, they just completely gave up when that counter attack, of course, has happened. There was a shout for Austin that was not given not long after, before Zardes puts a weak header right to Kinsman in the 82nd minute. I think that header pretty much sums up Jarzy Zardes' time with Austin. Just not effective whatsoever. It's been a nightmare start for him, for Austin, to a point where this is even worse than when he was with Colorado. I mean, I know when he was with the Rapids, he kind of got off to a slow start, but eventually he did figure things out. Uh, I mean, I think the only way he can figure things out is that he needs that goal, because we saw that eventually when he finally broke that duck, he started to go on a bit of a goal scoring run, and Austin is desperate to hope that that is going to happen soon, because again, he's been pretty much invincible for this Austin team ever since they signed him. And then Pooch did look for his second goal there, but he missed that one wide. And then they did go to VAR to see whether or not if Zardes was fouled by Zavaleta there, which VAR says no, so no penalty was given to Austin. And yeah, in the end, the Galaxy, they win 2-0 in this one over Austin. Shots in this one, 18 shots for the 11 that Austin has, 8 shots on goal for the 2 that Austin had, 6 shots off target for the 2 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots that was blocked for the 8 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession that Austin has in this game. And again, from the Galaxy, pretty convincing win in this one. I mean, again, it is against a relatively easy opponent and a team that is just kind of falling apart, but they'll take it. Consider the start of the season that they have. But for Austin, this is just bad. Like this is getting to a point where it's not a big surprise that they're heading to this free fall, because of the fact that not only they can't defend, well, they can't score. And when you add that together, you're pretty much going to lose every single game. But that being said, moving on into the last game of the review, or last game of the Saturday night action, because I already reviewed the Sunday game, is Seattle and Minnesota. So for the Loons, for 75 minutes, it looked like their game plan worked. Like I knew that coming into this game, they were just going to bunker. They're just gonna grind now, resort like they've been doing this whole season. And like I said, for 75 minutes, it worked, and then it didn't. Because one of the big flaw with grinding out resort is the fact that if you make one mistake, then you can be punished. And the Loons made one mistake in this game, and they were punished because of how Seattle. That they are very clinical in terms of their finishing. Now, early on, as expected, Seattle had all the possession as Minnesota was sitting deep early. Garcia did have the first chance for Minnesota, and really the first chance of the game, but he missed, hits it high and goes wide. Again, it was a lackluster game, which is not a big surprise. We knew that coming into this game, with the way that Minnesota was playing a typical grinding out kind of resort, and Seattle kind of are missing some key guys. Again, Ruidíaz was not available in this one, but they also had a couple of key guys missing out in this one besides Ruidíaz, and that when you combine that, you just had a feeling that it was going to be a bit of a lackluster game, and it's a game that I don't think neutral fans would be enjoying this one. And again, neither team doing much on the attack. Shots were only 2 apiece through 26 minutes. Dotson would get the third shot of the game for Minnesota, but he hits one right to Fry before Ladero had an outstretched shot that just goes wide there. And I thought the Loons got to watch out that left side, because so far the Sounders have been able to exploit that left side that Minnesota has had. So in the 40th minute, Sam Ben did pulls it high from close range. It was another great game for Sam Ben. I mean, I really love this kid, and I'm really hoping that eventually he will be match fitness, because if he can go the full 90, I really believe that he can definitely show the quality that Reynoso bring to this team, and maybe even more, because while there's been times I get frustrated with Reynoso in terms of giving the ball away, that's not the case for Sam Ben. He He offers a lot of speed and also some really good vision on the passing. That yeah, I'm very excited to see him play full 90 once he get his fitness back to full strength. But in the first minute of stoppage time, Ladero did try to chip Dane St. Clair, but it was an easy catch for the Minnesota netminder, and I thought that moment happened because Arriaga basically committed WTF turnover. Yeah, he got away with that one there, and no, the Loons are very fortunate that we talk about those laps of concentration and how they cannot afford it because of how weak this attack is. That was definitely an example of it, and they got away with one at the end of the first half. But we do head to halftime, unsurprisingly, 0-0. And in the second half, again, not much really to write for in the first 10 minutes, which again favorites Minnesota because it looks like a very Minnesota United game with the way that they were trying to park the bus. Well, actually, I wouldn't say park the bus, but more like trying to grind out a 1-0 result. Longwane then hits one right to Fry before Paulo pulls it way wide on the volley. I mean, João Paulo, knowing the fact that he can score some long range goals, and I definitely remember as a Minnesota United fans from uh, from a couple years ago. Yeah, why not have a hit? Chu then hits it wide from close ranges. I thought the Sounders were starting to ramp up the pressure, like they were ramping up the pressure and the energy that they didn't really quite show throughout the game. And while I thought the Loons still looked to be defending well, I thought they were just one lack of concentration and one mistake away from conceding a goal. And it shouldn't be a big surprise that it did happen, because after Dane St. Clair denied Chu in the front post, in the 79th minute, Seattle broke through. It's Rusnak scoring from Montero to give the Sounders a 1-0 lead, and this lack of concentration happened because the Loons backline decided to switch off on the throw-in. Again, it doesn't take much. It's just one lapse of concentration. Next thing you know, this team is down 1-0. And also, this is a point where I basically kind of stopped tune in to this one. I mean, I still had the sound in the audio of this game, but I knew this game was over. Like as soon as the Sounders get that opening goal, I didn't think Minnesota was going to come back from this. Montero did try to get on the score sheet after he was on the assist chart with the Rusnak goal, but he missed wide there. And yeah, in the end, the Sounders win 1-0 in this one. Shots in this one, 15 shots committed, 9 that Minnesota has, 4 shots on goal committed, 3 that the Sounders had, 6 shots off target committed, 3 that Minnesota has, 2 shots that was blocked committed, 6 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And again, for the Sounders, not a vintage performance, but with the way that they were missing some key guys, and especially some other key guys that did not play the full 90 minutes in this one, I think they'll be happy that they were able to get a win against a very stingy Minnesota team. But for the Loons, again, this is I feel like these last couple of games we have seen the downside of a team that tried to grind out Resort, because while you want one of the things that you need to do when you grind out Resort is not only defend well, but also you need to hope that you can at least do something on the attack, maybe take advantage of your chances. And while the Loons were definitely doing that early in the season, and that's why they've been getting the wins, they have not done that in these last couple of games. And when you don't do that, that's not going to work for a team that is grinding out Resort. And I know that I have heard that the fan base is not happy with the way how this team is played, but really, I just think that this is kind of how it's going to be. And this is why I go back to what I said. As much as yes, those wins was good, and maybe some of some of the Minnesota United fans might think, who's Reynoso? We don't need him. I think it started to show that they do in some way need Reynoso. Though I would argue that at least Samban is that definitely providing that role. And again, if he can get himself full match fitness, I think he can be just as good as Reynoso, if not better. But I think the other issue that this team desperately need is a number 9. I mean, again, it's sad that I have to say that again. I've been saying for the past couple of years, for whatever reason, this team just cannot find that number 9, because it's safe to say that both Luis Almeria and Mender Garcia is not the answer in terms of that number 9 spot. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the review for these remaining games that I haven't reviewed from the first part, and also the Sunday game that I reviewed. But as always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.